Spiritual Gifts and Spiritualization. Revelations of Jesus Christ from 1884 to 1950. Chapter 48. Spiritual Gifts and Spiritualization. The spiritual abilities of man. Thus saith the Lord. When this doubtful, unbelieving, and materialistic humanity finds itself faced with a divine revelation, or what it calls miracles, it instantly seeks out explanations or evidence to demonstrate that there was no supernatural work, that there was no miracle. When a man appears, displaying an uncommon spiritual gift, mockery, doubt, and indifference arise before him to quiet his voice. And when nature, the instrument of my divinity, directs its voice of justice and its warning calls to men, they attribute it all to chance. Humanity has never been so insensitive, so blind and deaf to all that is divine, all that is spiritual and eternal, as it is today. Millions of men call themselves Christian, but the majority of them do not know the doctrine of Christ. They say they love the works I performed as man, but their manner of believing, thinking, and conceptualizing demonstrates that they do not know the essence of my doctrine. I came to show you the life of the Spirit, to reveal to you the powers contained therein. That is why I came to this world. I healed the sick with no medicine whatsoever. I spoke to the spirits, freed the possessed of strange and supernatural influences, spoke with nature, transfigured myself from man to spirit and spirit to man. And each of those works had the purpose of showing you the road of the development of the spirit. You carry within you true treasures, powers and gifts you do not even guess at. But from ignorance you weep like paupers. What do you know of the power of prayer and the strength of thought? What do you know of the profound content of the communication between spirit and spirit? Nothing, you materialistic and carnal humanity. Spiritualization is what I expect of the world. Before me, the names with which each sect or religion distinguishes itself have no importance, nor do the greater or lesser splendor of their rites and outward worship. Those things reach only human senses. They do not reach my spirit. I expect spiritualization of men because it means the elevation of life, the ideal of perfection, the love of good, the worship of truth, the practice of charity and harmony with oneself, which is harmony with others, and therefore with God. Spiritualization does not denote mysticism, nor does it imply the performance of any rite, nor is it a form of external worship. Spiritualization is the development of all the faculties of man, those that correspond to the human part just as to those that lie beyond the senses of the body, the powers, attributes, faculties, and senses of the spirit. Spiritualization is the proper and just application of all those gifts that man possesses. Spiritualization is harmony with all that surrounds you. During my time, I taught you the greatest virtue, which is compassion. I inspired your hearts and sensitized your sentiments. Now I come to reveal to you all the gifts with which your spirit is endowed, so that you may develop them and apply them to doing good among your fellow men. Knowledge of spiritual life will permit you to carry out works similar to those performed by your master. Remember what I told you, that upon developing your faculties, you would perform true miracles. All of you possess the gifts of the Spirit, which are beginning to develop during this third era due to the stage of development reached by the spirits. Intuition, foresight, revelation, prophecy, and inspiration are manifesting in a clear way among humanity, and it is this that proclaims the new era. It is the light of the Book of the Seven Seals, open during this time to the 6th chapter. You who know the reason for these manifestations and the era in which you live. Channel your gifts upon the road of love. Be always prepared to offer your charity, and you will be in harmony with my law and serve as an example for your brothers. Then you will be my disciples and be recognized as such. When men love and know how to forgive, when humility exists in their hearts, and they have made the Spirit impose itself over the material, then will the flesh, the world, and the passions thereof no longer form the thick veil that prevents you from looking back or forward upon the road. On the contrary, the flesh spiritualized by the practice of my doctrine shall be like a docile servant to the dictates of the conscience, instead of what it is now, an obstacle, a trap, a blindfold over the eyes of the Spirit. Intuition, which is spiritual sight, presentiment, and prophecy, clears the mind and makes the heart beat in response to the messages and voices it receives from infinity. By means of the gift of intuition, which I have given to all men, you may discover many things hidden among the heart's secrets, many tragedies that affect not only the earthly lives, but also the spirits of your brothers. How can one enter the intimacy of those hearts without wounding them or profaning their secrets? How can one discover the hidden pains that shadow the lives of our brothers? I have already told you, intuition, the gift that is part of spiritual sight, and which will reach full development within you through prayer, shall show you the way to calm the pain of each and every one of your fellow men. How many mysteries still exist for man? He is surrounded by invisible and untouchable beings that should already be visible and touchable. A life full of beauty and revelations palpitates over the existence of men, and these, in their blindness, have been unable to see it. A man spiritually prepared by my doctrine will be able to perform superhuman works. From his spirit and body, a light, a power, and a strength will emanate, which will allow him to do that which intelligence alone is not able to perform. This is the time in which the divine light shall shine bright in my followers, who shall exhibit the gifts of the Spirit by showing that they require neither earthly goods nor material sciences to perform charity and work miracles. They shall heal in my name, curing the hopelessly ill, transforming water into healing balsam, and raising the dead from their deathbeds. Their prayer shall have the power to calm the wind, to assuage the elements, and combat epidemics and evil influences. The possessed shall be relieved of their obsessions, their persecutors and their oppressors, by the word, the prayer, and the power of my new disciples. Spiritualization means the elevation of the sentiments, purity in life, faith, love of others, charity, humility before God, and profound respect for the gifts received. When you achieve any of these virtues, your spiritual gaze begins to enter the mansion of love and perfection, and therefore, when you reach a state of spiritualization while still on earth, you will be able to say that you inhabit, at least in moments of prayer, the spiritual valley. At the same time, you shall receive the light that reveals events of the future. For the spirit that has begun to ascend, to him the future becomes less and less of a mystery. Yes, disciples, only in human life is man ignorant of what will happen in the future, of the events of tomorrow, not knowing his destiny, nor the path he shall have to follow, or where it will ultimately lead. Man could not bear the knowledge of all the trials that he will have to experience in his life. In my compassionate love for him, I have created that veil between his present and his future, preventing him from losing his mind, knowing and beholding all that which he will have to live and feel. In contrast, the Spirit, a being endowed with strength and created for eternity, has the power to know its destiny, and the strength to understand and accept those trials that await it. For it knows that, at the end of the road, when it has followed the path with obedience to the law, it shall arrive in the promised land, the paradise of the Spirit, a state of development, purity, and perfection that it will reach in the end. You cannot reach the level of spiritualization of your master in order to know what your destiny holds and what the future offers you. But by means of your elevation, I shall make you sense the nearness of some events. Presentiment, seeing the future, knowledge of your destiny. These things you shall begin to achieve as your being, formed of body and spirit, continues to ascend along the road of spiritualization, which, I tell you again, is faith, purity, and the love of life. It is love and charity for your fellow men. It is humility and love before your Lord. Be alert that you may recognize the true prophets and the false, so you would not fight against those who, like you, are fulfilling missions confided to them by My Divinity, and that you may confirm the works of the true and destroy the works of the false. For this is the time when all the forces have risen to battle. There is good fighting evil, the light against the dark, wisdom against ignorance, and peace against war. Requirements and characteristics of authentic spirituality. Understand, a Judas exists in each and every man. Yes, disciples, in your case, the material body is Judas to the spirit. It is the body that opposes the shining light of spiritualization. It besieges the spirit to make it fall into materialism, into the lower passions. But do not condemn your body simply because it brings you to the edge of the abyss. You have need of it for your advancement, and you will overcome it with your spiritualization, as I overcame Judas with love. Before you set out to teach my maxims and reveal their contents, you should begin by practicing the teachings that I have revealed to you, loving your fellow men, living an elevated life, sowing light and charity along your path. If you do not do this, then I can tell you now that you have not understood spirituality. It uncovers your essence, and by means of it, you can form a proper idea of your Father and know yourselves. It is true that, in order to achieve spiritualization, you require a certain amount of renunciation and some effort and sacrifice. But if a yearning for elevation has awoken within you, if love has begun to vibrate within your being, or if the desire for the spiritual has arisen within you, instead of sacrifices and self-denial, it will be a pleasure for you to cast off all that is useless, superfluous, or evil. Keep always in mind that, before me, you are all equal, that all of you had the same beginning, and that all bear the same purpose, though each destiny presents a different outward appearance. Never forget that all of you must reach me, which means that all, though in many different ways, shall earn the merit required to reach the greatest spiritual heights. And so, never consider anyone to be inferior. Vanity must never sprout within the spiritualists. Rather, he must always be accompanied by true modesty. His acts, therefore, instead of dazzling with false light, shall resound in the hearts of his brothers. The good sowers of spiritualism shall never be distinguished by the outward or the material. There shall be no habits, no insignia, nor any special manner of speaking for them. All their acts will be of simplicity and humility. If they are known for anything, it will be for their brotherly love and spiritualization. The true preachers of spiritualism shall not be noted for their eloquence, but for the wisdom and simplicity of their words, but above all for the truth in their works and the goodness of their lives. Spiritualization is clarity, simplicity, the devotion to love, and the struggle to reach the perfection of the Spirit. The beneficial effects of spirituality. By means of spiritualization, a degree of elevation can be reached that permits man to conceive of ideas beyond those his mind can imagine, and have power over the material. Think now, if the elevation of the spirit were realized in the study of the material creation presented by nature or any other human ideal, what fruits could be obtained if your discoveries were due to not only the examination of the mind, but also to the intervention of the spiritual revelations given to you by He who created all? When men achieve spiritualization, they shall become creatures superior to all that surrounds them. Yet until now they have been only weak beings, at the mercy of the elements, as well as powers and forces that ought not to be above man, because they are not superior to him. Truly, I tell you, spiritualization is inherited, and so you must take care to impart to your children purity of heart and a receptivity to the spiritual. They shall thank you for having showed them compassion by bestowing upon them a body free of passions, a body of a clear mind, a sensitive heart, and a spirit awake to the call of the conscience. The only goal of my work is the spiritualization of all men, for in spiritualization they shall become one and understand one another. In spiritualization they shall see the names and the exterior forms of their religions disappear, which have been the very cause of their spiritual distancing, brought about by each interpreting God differently. Once all begin to approach spiritualization upon their different paths, they shall understand that all they had needed to do was liberate themselves from their materialism, in order to spiritually interpret what they had always regarded in a material manner. Spiritualization is all I ask of men during this time, and, within the limits of what is permissible, they shall see their greatest ideals fulfilled and their greatest conflicts resolved.